I'm going to talk about perception. And the reason why I'm going to talk about perception is that's my work. So I'm a neuroscientist. And perception underpins everything that we do. It is the basis of being human. From the things we know, the things we think, what we believe, what we hope, our dreams, everything begins with perception. And so I'm going to tell you the story of being human in the simplest of our perceptions, which is seeing color. It doesn't get any easier than seeing light. Even jellyfish see light, and they don't even have a brain. Okay? But in seeing light, that holds the key to understanding what it is to be human. Now, color begins with light, but it is not the perception of light. That might seem a bit odd. So, if seeing light meant always seeing light as it really is, then when you see two squares that are physically the same, they should always look exactly the same. But if we take those two squares and put them in different surrounds, different context, their perception changes. So you now see the square, the small square on your right, as being darker than the square on your left. And yet physically, they're exactly the same. So context is everything when it comes to seeing light. In fact, context is everything when it comes to seeing anything. So if we could understand that simple illusion, if we could understand why context matters, we would not only understand how the brain works, we would also understand what it means to be human. So, why? Why does context matter? The reason is because the light that falls into your eye, all sensory information, is inherently meaningless. In fact, all information is inherently meaningless. There's no behavioral value in information. And to prove that point, I want you to imagine that this is the back of your eye, okay? And these are two projections from the world onto the back of your eye. They're physically identical in every way. They're identical in shape, spectral content, size. Everything about them is the same. As far as your eye is concerned, they are the same. And yet they come from completely different sources in the world. So the one on the left comes from, which you can see, the key is down here. The one on the left comes from an orange object in light, oriented this way, viewed through some purplish medium. Whereas the one on the right comes from a yellow object in shadow, or in exactly the opposite direction, viewed through a different medium. Completely different sources giving rise to the exact same information. So those two areas of the screen are physically the same, but they have completely different meanings. And it's those meanings that you're seeing. So how does the brain make sense of meaningless information? Everything that it receives is meaningless. How does it make sense of it? And what I want to do is show you how we do it using these toys. The first step is that the brain finds relationships. It finds relationships information, and then I'll show the next step. But I need a volunteer. In fact, I have a volunteer, which is Peter. Right? He just found out about this. He was going to go hide somewhere, but now he has to come out. You don't need a microphone. So thank you very much. He has no idea what's going to happen. We're going to do a little experiment. It's not very invasive. All right? Now, he used to play the keyboard, so he should be really good at this. He should be very good with his hands. Right? So we're going to find out. We got permission to throw a ball at this screen, so if it puts a hole in it, he has to pay for it as well. So, right? So, you're left-handed or right-handed?
Right-handed.
Okay, very good. So we're going to do a little experiment, and all you have to do is hit that dot. Now, it might seem easier than it is, because I was trying it this morning, and it was a bit difficult. So all you have, underhand, so we don't ruin the screen, you have to just hit that dot, okay? Okay, I only have 18 minutes. Okay, getting closer, getting closer. Okay, a couple more. He's throwing it straight, so we're getting there. Right? Okay, one more, because it's important that he's throwing it straight. That he hits the dot isn't as important. Okay, so now, good, not yet. He's going to put on these beautiful glasses, that I stole from my mentor, Dale Purvis, and just turn around so they can see how beautiful you are. Right? So now let's move a little bit closer. Now all he has to do is hit the dot, okay? Which is up there. And I'll tell you what's happening. He's wearing prisms, okay? As far as his brain is concerned, the whole world has been shifted about 20 degrees to the right, which is why he's throwing it to the right. But he's going to learn. Eventually. It's happening because what we do is we get feedback from our experiences and we adapt to that feedback and we come to see the world in a new way, right? Some of us sooner than others. Now we're going. Oh, down to 11 minutes. Okay, come on. No, you gotta leave them on. Okay, getting there, perfect. Very good. Now he's starting to throw it center. Now you can see that his body is actually throwing the ball differently. That's because the relationship between our mind and body is not so distinct. Keep going. Throw it more to the left. There you go. Oh. Keep going. We want him to learn this. Keep going. Very good. Keep going. You see, now he's throwing it to the middle, okay? He's learning. He's doing what I call redefining normality, right? Okay, very good. Now, we're going to take the glasses off. We're all agreed he's throwing it straight. Now go ahead, hit the dot. Very good. What's happening? He's throwing it left. Why? Because his brain has come to see the world in a new way. It doesn't know the glasses are off. All right? One more, so we know you're back to normal. We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. It's over there somewhere. It's my kid's ball. I have to get it later. Okay, so puts the glasses on. He throws it to the right. Right? But eventually, through experience, he comes to see the world in a new way, hits the target. When I first did this, the very first time, Medical Society, I brought someone up on stage. They took the ball, hit the dot. Put the glasses on, hit the dot. Never missed. Took the glasses off, hit the dot. Never missed. Turns out he was a physicist that works with prisms every single day. Right? So it completely made my point, but it completely destroyed the demonstration. So he takes the glasses off, and now he throws it to the left, okay? And eventually we'll go back to normal, right? So that's the first thing the brain does. It finds relationships in the world through interaction, through engagement. But that's not the only step. The next step is to then associate a meaning with those relationships, okay? And the argument is it's that meaning that we see. Now, we're familiar with this in, of course, language. So I want 1,000 people to see if you can do this. Brilliant. Now, if you're Portuguese, right? What are you reading? There are no words there. That literally says, what at our reading, all right? But you're all reading the same thing. Why? Because the history of your experience, it would have been useful to put an H between that W and A. And so you do so again. You don't put a letter beyond the T because in your past experience it would have been useful. And yet none of you said, what are you dreaming? Just as possible. Why? Because I had primed you to be reading. So what you read is, what are you reading? Right? We always are seeing meaning. That's all we ever see. And what's true for language is also true for the simplest thing that the brain does, seeing light. So when we see these two dots, we put them in different surrounds. We change their perception of them. The one in the lighter surround looks darker than the one in the dark surround. Why? It's because what you're seeing is the meaning of the light. So to give you an example, we have those same two illusions repeated here, two tiles, one in a dark surround, one in a light surround. the same illusion on the right as on the left, okay? The one in the dark surround looks slightly lighter than the one in the light surround. What I'm going to do now is change their meaning, but I'm not going to change what happens in those squares at all, and see what happens to your perception. Are the illusions just as strong on the left and the right? No. The one on the left, now you see a white and a black tile. The one on the right, you see two tiles that are nearly exactly the same. Why? Because the one on the left, the light tile, if it were actually in shadow, there would be less light hitting it. If less light is hitting it, but it's reflecting the same amount of light to your eye as the one in light, it must be more reflective. So you see it as being lighter. Whereas the information on the right says those two tiles are the same. They're under the same light on different backgrounds. They must be equally reflective, so you see them as being the same. What you're seeing is the meaning of the information, the meaning of the relationships, not the information itself. So we can put all these things together and create incredibly strong illusions. So you might be surprised to know that the dark tile, the brown tile at the top, is exactly the same as the orange tile at the side. Those two tiles are physically the same. If I remove the context, change their meaning, you can see they're exactly the same. That's your physical reality, and that's your perceptual reality. You have 4 gray tiles on the left and 7 gray tiles on the right. Agreed? They're all gray. Okay? I'm not going to change those tiles at all. I'm just going to change their meaning. Now, I want you to keep your eye on the front one here, okay? And just see what happens to your perception of that gray tile. What color is it now? Blue? You see 4 blue tiles on the left and 7 yellow tiles on the right? They're all gray. That's your physical reality, and that's your perceptual reality. The blue tiles are exactly the same as the yellow tiles. These two surfaces are the same. The surface on the top is exactly the same as the surface underneath. If I create a mask so you could look through them, that's the physical reality of those surfaces. You see 4 angles? They all look different subtenses. Those are all 90-degree angles. Okay? These 2 tables are the same. It's true. The height of the green table is exactly the width of the red table, and the width of the green table is exactly the height of the red table. The red table is the green table on its side. The only difference is the angles at the corners. Does anyone see anything in this blob of white? Can anyone make out any meaning, any information? What if I add... He saw this earlier, this doesn't count. But it did take him a while, to be fair. Okay, so can anyone see anything? Now, this is a very important word, okay? So I'm going to add something over top. And I'm not going to change anything in the white at all. I'm just going to add something to the top. What do you see? The word bell. Yes? Now, if I remove the orange squares, can you still read the word bell? It was always there. It always is. Okay? Now, I want to show you something which is not only that can show you just how you look at something can change the way you see it. So I'm not even going to change the context. I'm just going to change the way you look at something. So here I'm going to show you 2 ways you can see the next image. You can either see the next image as a cross going back and forth, or 2 bars going up and down. Okay? That's called pattern motion on your right and component motion on your left in psychophysics. Now here, you probably all see an X going back and forth. Yes? Agreed? All right? But I want you to look at it in a different way. I want you to keep your eye on the junction between the green bar and the purple background, and just follow that. And at some point, the 2 bars will dissociate. They'll go up and down against each other. Yes? You get that? Put your arm up if you got that, so I know. Okay? most of you. Now, keep your eyes where the two bars meet. Suddenly you see an X going back and forth. Focus where the bar and the green background meet, and you'll see the two bars going up and down. Depending on what you look at, you'll see exactly opposite perceptions. In fact, I can get you to look at the white circle and attend to those different regions, and you'll see something exactly opposite. So, do I have time for this? I've never done this in front of an audience, so I thought 1,000 people would be a good way to start. Can you help me with this?
Sure.
I might run out of time, but okay. This is a toy. And first, I have to put on my very special head. Okay. Can you see anything, sir?
Not a thing.
Okay, so you stand there. Now we should all leave. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to put this on. And again, remember, I've never done this in front of a group of people.
Neither have I.
And you never will again. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how. Now this is an incredibly intelligent person who thinks about perception all the time. Okay? Now we're going to do a little game where one half of you is going to clap, and he's going to point to which half of the audience is clapping, either this half or that half. Very simple, right? It's got to be right or left. Okay? Now, let's see if I can get this on. Is that on nice and snugly?
Very snugly.
Okay. Now, your task is to point which side of the audience is clapping. Okay? So where am I right now?
You are... Do it again. You're behind me.
I want...
Both sides.
Both sides. Okay. We'll do it again, but so you can see. That half. That half.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was great.
Oh, okay. I'm now over time. Okay, so this is called an ear switcher. Okay? It means the sound that comes over here enters this ear, and the sound that comes over here enters that ear. Okay? At this level, because of our experience, we can't help, what did I put my clicker? We can't help but perceive things according to our past experiences. In that sense, Richie's behaving like this frog. Right? Do you have the sound? It gets a stimulus, and it behaves according to its past experience of what that means. And sometimes when things don't go the way we expect, right, we don't like that, right? But us humans, being human, we can do something else that frog can't do. We can do what I call seeing yourself see. We can have an awareness. We can become perceivers of ourselves. When you look at that illusion, you're experiencing two realities at the same time. One you see and one you know. You see those two tiles as being different, but you also know that they are the same. You're literally seeing yourself see. And it's through that process of seeing yourself see, of becoming an observer of yourself, of becoming aware, that enables us to do amazing things, enables us to be human, right? And the argument here is that if our perceptions of the world are grounded in our history, then what we do now affects how we will see things in the future. So the creation of all new perceptions begins in the same way, with a question, with a step into uncertainty. Okay? And within that step to uncertainty, suddenly we have things like choice. And with choice, we can actually be creative. And something even more fundamental is we have the ability for compassion. Because this is human nature. This is what it is to be human. And it's only by accepting our own human nature that we can accept the human nature of others. Okay? So things to remember, a couple of thoughts. The brain continually redefines normality. That's what it does. That's what it evolved to do. Right? Because we are defined by our ecology. We're not defined by the stuff that makes us up. We're not defined by our DNA. We're defined by our history of interactions, the meaning of relationships. Okay? And you have two options. Either there are no illusions, or everything is one. Okay? And given that, we're pretty much all delusional. So you might as well choose your delusion. So thank you very much.